What is up, everyone? Welcome to the FAA podcast. Interesting times we are going through right now. We got MLB baseball playoffs going on right now. Got it on my phone, Jimmy. Don't worry. I'm watching it just for you.
Oh,
Just
thanks.
for you. A lot of upsets, like the description of the show said today. It was, it's been crazy season overall, I think, both NFL and college. And now it's just like, bro, what happened this weekend? Especially in college.
The CFP has to be super happy. Like expanding to 12 teams right when like everyone seems like they're beatable, at least in some capacity, is like pretty crazy.
Well, I think also I think everyone was making a big deal about conference realignment, but I think it's working, to be honest.
Mhm.
We're seeing some teams in new conferences making a splash. So, anyways, start off on Friday. There's 4 games. I did not win any money on this one because the Owls could not keep it close enough. They had them in the first half. The Gamecocks, though, Jacksonville State 63-24 over Kennesaw State. Kennesaw still looking for their first FBS win in their first season at that level, and it's not great right now. They are pretty near the bottom on most statistical categories, both offensive and defensively. So it has not gone pretty great for Kennesaw so far this year. But to be honest, I think they were one of the teams that jumped up, and I was like, why? Like, they are not ready. Like, JMU was a different story. They were totally ready, had been winning at the FCS level, but Kennesaw had won. Their coach had won a couple Big South titles, but that was like almost a decade ago now. I think his last one was in 2017. So it's been a bit since Kennesaw has won a conference title, and they definitely are not going to win a Conference USA title this year. Anyways, Tyler Huff, the Furman transfer, he loves playing Kennesaw State because last year when he played Kennesaw State, he had 4 touchdowns, and this year he had 3. So it's pretty good. He wishes he could play Kennesaw State every week, but yeah, Huff here 64%, 193, 15 carries. How about the quarterback running for 176 and 3 touchdowns? Powerful guy as well. He lays the wood on the defender, not the other way around, for sure. For the Owls, it was Davis Bryson at quarterback, 42.9%, 76 yards, touchdown, 3 picks. That's been an issue. He came into this game, I think it was 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. Duplicated that, his season totals in 1 game here. Caleb Johnson also came in a bit at the end, 1 of 2 for 5 yards and a fumble. Jacksonville State running back Trey Stewart, they had the running game going all night. Like I said, with Huff already, 176 there, led the game. Stewart, though, over 100 as well, 24 carries for 134 yards, 4 touchdowns for him. Kennesaw, surprisingly, did have some production on the ground. Running back Michael Benefield, 17 carries, 112 yards, and touchdown. Jimmy, why couldn't that not have been a run right there? Why? We
I had them on the line. They just wouldn't listen to me.
We need some runs.
Nah, man. We need runs the other team's way.
We need runs. No, I need runs on him. I need runs on some Matthew Boyd.
Matthew Boyd decided to lock the F in today.
It's all right. Scooball's going to throw a no-hitter, so it's cool.
Nah.
Actually, no, he's not. He's going to let a double up to Jose Ramirez.
Of course he is. It's going to be a 3-run double, too.
That's fine. I have the over as well, so it's cool. Quay Ashley, the other Kennesaw running back here, 66 yards on the ground, 93-yard kick return touchdown. And Jacksonville State wide receiver Cam Vaughn led the game in receiving, 7 for 96. Defensively, There's two guys here. Dude, I'm telling you, I didn't watch this game, a lot of it anyways, but I was listening to it, and my goodness, Zachariah Poyser for Jacksonville State is a monster on the back end for the Gamecocks. 4 tackles, 3 solos, a tackle for loss, 2 picks. He was literally everywhere. Like, I heard his name so many times listening to this game. So he's my player of the game. But the other one has to go to the touchdown scorer there, corner Jabari Mack, his teammate, 3 tackles, 2 solos, 30-yard pick 6. Jacksonville State minus 17.5, covered over 49.5 easily. 87 to start the Friday night off. And this probably where the craziness started on the weekend. Houston rolling TCU in Fort Worth, 30-19.
Doesn't suck.
I still think they do. TCU, though, has 0 defense. What we have seen this year, that's been a consistent thing with TCU this year, is they just have no defense. And Houston, on the other hand, does actually have a defense. They held Iowa State to 20 points 2 weeks ago. And, this week now, TCU getting held to 19. An explosive offense normally for Josh Hoover. That's why I picked the Horned Frogs. But, yeah, they weren't able to get past this Cougars defense. So I think if Houston's going to have any chance at making a bowl this year, that's where it's got to start. And also where it's got to start is playing Zeon Chris, because he was much better a lot better than Donovan Smith, a big upgrade for the Cougars here. The Louisiana transfer, 83.3%, 141 touchdown, 11 carries, 97 yards, and a touchdown. I think that's what the biggest difference is for me. You get a lot more of the quarterback run game in with Chris than you do Smith. So if I'm Houston going forward, I think Zeon Chris has to be the guy. For Josh Hoover, it was a disappointing night, 62.2%, 233, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, and a fumble. TCU had 4 total turnovers on the night, I believe, and they couldn't get out of their own way. Turnovers, penalties, and that's what really killed the Horned Frogs in this one. Cam Cook led the game in rushing outside of the quarterbacks there. 14 carries, 77 yards. Wide receiver J.P. Richardson for TCU led the game in receiving, 9 for 98, and a fumble. And defensively, I am going to go with Houston defensive back A.J. Halsey, 7 tackles, 5 solos, pass defense, and 2 picks. Houston plus 16.5 wins outright under 51.5, which I had the over. So annoying. TCU couldn't score at the end. Number 6, Oregon, 31-10 over Michigan State. And I don't know. I don't know what Oregon's doing. Just saying. Like, they're messing around with these lower level Big Ten teams. UCLA last week, Michigan State this week. People are probably like, what do you mean they're messing around? They won by 21. Yeah, but Oregon has the team to win by 40, which is what they should be doing with a team like Michigan State, a team like UCLA. I'll talk more about UCLA in 5 minutes. But but yeah, I don't – and we'll see what the picks are on Friday, but I know it's a home game. I don't think they're ready for Ohio State, Jimmy. I don't think they are.
No one is.
Hear that.
Yeah, Dylan Gabriel, 62.5%, 257, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, 3 carries, 22 yards, and a touchdown. And this is second straight week. Dylan Gabriel has thrown a pick right on the goal line. The red zone interceptions are just killing them. It's been annoying, really. I didn't have anything on this game, but it's just like, bro, like you cannot, you can't throw it. Like if it's not there, throw it away. Good Lord, take the 3 points. So yeah, it's not going great decision making in the red zone for Gabriel so far.
Yeah. It's you were mentioning they keep messing around with kind of these lower level Big Ten schools, and it's like one of these mid-level Big Ten schools is going to get them. And one of these, I'm telling you, they're going to lose some November game against like a 5-4 Big Ten West team. And yeah,
I'm just checking the schedule to see who they play, other than Ohio State this week. Because when you said 5-4, you know who popped into my head? Northwestern. But they
maybe
don't play
not that far. I don't know if we'll go that far. But
They don't
I
play
was
them.
gonna say
They don't play
Wisconsin.
them. They don't play them, unfortunately. Hey, how about Wisco?
Wisco.
They come to Madison. They come to Madison November 16th.
That could be it.
I'm not ready to commit to that just because historically Oregon's had our number. But like that's in line like with what like like a 500 former Big Ten West team. I mean Minnesota just shocked USC. Iowa's a tough out. Like I don't know. Like you keep messing around with these teams, like eventually they're gonna get you.
I mean, I just don't see them losing to anyone other than Ohio State with what their schedule sets up as. Unless at Purdue next Friday. Hey, Purdue has done it. Purdue has done it before.
You upset kids right there.
Ohio State. Jimmy remembers that game, I'm sure.
Yeah, we do.
Rondale Moore, baby. But yeah, Illinois, but that's in Eugene. They're at the big house. Michigan is nothing. I'm telling you. I've been telling you. Michigan. I still don't know why Michigan is ranked. No clue. They should not be a ranked team. If USC is not a ranked team, Michigan should not be a ranked team. Just, God. Maryland, but that's in Eugene, at Wisconsin, and then they host Washington. So the teams that I could see potentially upsetting them are all in Eugene. Anyways. Yeah. Aiden Childs here, 10 of 17, 58.8%, 154, 12 carries, 29 yards, and a fumble. Tommy Schuster, North Dakota transfer, 37 yards, 100%, 5 for 5. And I'd be interested to see if Jonathan Smith changes quarterbacks. I know they're 3-3. They're in a decent position to make a bowl game. But it seems like Schuster's been the better player in his limited action. I know Childs is supposed to be like the next great quarterback under Jonathan Smith, but I don't know. Jordan James is setting himself up to be he's underrated running back in the 25 draft coming up. I think he's making himself with some money this season so far. 24 carries, 166 yards, touchdown, 4-yard reception as well. Oregon wide receiver Tez Johnson led the game in receiving, 84 yards on 10 catches and a touchdown. And defensively, how about the game for Oregon defensive end Jordan Birch? 4 tackles, 2 solos, 2.5 sacks, 2.5 tackles for loss. And I don't know if you saw it, Logan. I thought it was super funny. The East-West game, I feel like they just like copycatted the Senior Bowl with their players of the week. They're like, oh, yeah, we didn't watch anyone. We're just going to go with what the Senior Bowl had. Jalen Royals for Utah State, Jordan Birch for Oregon as the players of the week.
It's funny watching that rivalry. Like, the passive aggressiveness is just, it's beautiful.
I didn't want to say anything on Twitter, but I'm like the Senior Bowl put theirs out first, and then the East-West put theirs out, and they're the same guys. Like, I think it's okay like if it's one of the same, but both. Like, I don't know. I mean, they did have great stats, but I think there was a better defensive player out there than Birch potentially. Royals though is hard to 211 yards. Crazy, which we'll get to. Michigan State, though, plus 21.5 covered by the hook, under 52.5. The last game, Syracuse upsetting number 25 UNLV 44-41 in overtime. Logan, you had the lone wolf, I believe, on this one. Hughes got it done in Vegas.
Yes, sir.
I was highly surprised. Not because Syracuse won, but Kyle McCord just balled. Absolute balled out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 63.5%, 355, 3 touchdowns, a pick, 4 carries, 22 yards. And it's a tough non-conference game for sure, and they got it done. Hajj Malik Williams, though, I still think Barry Odom has to be enthralled with the way that Williams has been playing in his 2 games so far. I think you can still be very confident in UNLV fighting for the Mountain West title, like I had them doing. I have them winning. I had them winning the Mountain West title. So, yeah, HM dub here, 84%, 227, 3 touchdowns, a pick, 12 carries, 53 yards, a rushing touchdown as well. Great night. Syracuse, though, did kind of what I said they would have to do. They didn't play defense, but they did get LaQuint Allen going. However, he did only rush for 3.7 yards per carry. Gave him 19 carries, though. Led the game in rushing, 71 yards, 2 touchdowns. But the more interesting thing I thought was the receiving work for Allen. 9 catches, 58 yards, 2 touchdowns for Allen there. I hadn't really seen that from him before, so that was interesting to see. Leading the game in receiving, Syracuse tight end Aronze Gadsden. He's a beast. 10 catches, 142 yards. Talk about the Spider-Man graphic, talking about beasts. It's the guy right below him, wide receiver Ricky White for UNLV. I mean, he is UNLV football. Like, he could have went anywhere he wanted to in the transfer portal this offseason because he's that good. And he decided to stay at UNLV. 10 catches, 135 yards, touchdown, and he blocked a punt. The man plays special teams as well as a starting wide receiver. And that block led to a touchdown. They recovered it in the end zone for a touchdown. So, yeah. Defensively, obviously the UNLV linebacker Charles Correa, he's the guy that recovered that for a touchdown, tackle and a solo. I am going to go with my guy, though. I love Jackson Woodard. 14 tackles, 7 solos, 2 pass defense, then a pick. Syracuse plus 5.5 wins outright, over 54.5, 85 for the Nightcat. Number 7, Penn State, 27-11 over UCLA. Bro, like, I had Penn State alternate spread. Alternate. Minus 17, bro. They were covering. They would have covered. There's absolutely no excuse for UCLA to go for 2 when you are down by 24 points with no time on the clock. Like, no excuse. And there's no excuse for Penn State not stopping them. And, whatever. It didn't matter anyways. Didn't matter. Tennessee lost, so they saved me from being really mad at Penn State. But, like I mentioned with Oregon, I saw one thing that said, like, Penn State rolls over UCLA. I'm like, roll? What do you mean? They beat them by 16. I know it's the final score, and I mentioned that touchdown was late. But, again, they only put 27 up on UCLA. So I don't know. I don't think, just like with Oregon, I don't think Penn State's ready for Ohio State, which is really the hardest team they have to play. So yeah, I mean they're up in the top 5 now. There's lofty expectations. I don't know why they're up in the top 5, but
by default.
sure. Well, for them to jump Georgia, I don't understand that. I think Georgia's still a better team than Penn State is. I know Penn State has 0 losses and Georgia has 1, but it makes me cringe seeing a 4 next to Penn State's name, not a lower top 10 number, because it's setting up for disappointment. And Penn State, I don't remember how high they were ranked in 2016 when they won the Big Ten championship. I know they weren't 4. No, they weren't 4 because they didn't make college football playoffs. But yeah, I don't think this team's ready, and it's going to be another James Franklin letdown when they lose to Ohio State. So, but they'll get in the playoff anyways. So that's cool. Drew Aller, 70.8%, 237 touchdown rushing score as well. Justin Martin, the freshman, getting his first start for the Bruins, 73.3%, 167, a touchdown. Played pretty well. I was impressed. Pocket movement was pretty solid. Katron Allen, no Nicholas Singleton in this game for PSU. Allen, though, 78 yards on 21 carries, led the game in rushing, a touchdown, a 1-yard reception as well. Penn State wide receiver. How about Liam Clifford leading the game and receiving 100 yards, 3 for 107? Is he the guy that's going to step up in the Penn State receiver room? They've been waiting for someone to be the number 1 guy. Early in the season, it was maybe it's Harrison Wallace. He had that big game against West Virginia. Preseason, it was Julian Fleming, and he has done nothing. The Ohio State transfer. And now Clifford has a big game, so still don't know. Still have no clue who the number 1 guy is for Penn State. And you know what? To be honest, it's not even a receiver. It's Tyler Warren. It's the tight end. Who scored again in this game, by the way. Defensively, I'm going to go with UCLA linebacker Oluwafemi Oladejo. He wrecked Penn State most of the day. 10 tackles, 5 solos, a sack, 2 tackles for loss. He was having a really great day for the Bruins defense that, again, allowed only 27 points to a top 10 team on the road, mind you. UCLA plus 29.5, covered easily like I knew they would. Under 47.5, which I had the over. Number 25, Texas A&M just blasting number 9 Missouri, 41-10, and it was over from the start. Missouri never even got to College Station. I don't know who was playing in the white uniforms, but it wasn't Brady Cook and Luther Burden, that's for sure. Because my goodness, and I think Missouri has actually been one of the biggest frauds in college football this year. Despite being 4-1, they have not looked great in the last 2 weeks. And I think there's a lot of skepticism around the Tigers. I don't know, Logan. You had Brady Cook as your Heisman. So.
I know. I don't know what my Heisman pick is doing. That's going to be a fun end of season PowerPoint slide graphic.
But give credit, Mike Elko, man, 5 straight now after the week 1 loss to Notre Dame. And A&M's moved very far up the rankings now. I forget what they are. I think they're like 16 or something like that. So yeah, I mean, Connor Wegman returned after 2 straight weeks out and put on a show. 81.8%, 276, 5 carries, 33 yards. He got a lot of help from the ground game. Le'Veon Moss was excellent. 12 carries, 138 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 carries for 35 yards. Amari Daniels scored twice on the ground for the Aggies. So yeah, it was just a complete beatdown. Nick Scorton, the Purdue transfer, continues just wreck up front. I mean, he is. I would probably pick him for SEC Defensive Player of the Year right now. I don't think there's a better player in the SEC on defense currently. But yeah, Brady Cook, I mean, sub 50%, 41.9%, 186 touchdown, 11 carries, 11 yards. They couldn't run the ball. You see Nate Noel was their leading rusher with 30 yards on 10 carries. Luther Burden did lead the game in receiving, 7 for 82, but it was just costly penalties. Luther Burden had a 75-yard touchdown reception called back because of a penalty. I think it was illegal formation, something like that. And it was just like, bro, and that would have gotten Missouri back in the game because I think they were only down 17-7 or 24-7 at that point. So, make it 24-14, whatever, they would have got some momentum at least. But yeah, it was just compounding mistakes all day for Missouri. Defensively, like I said, it's Nick Scorton. 3 tackles, 2 solos, 1.5 sacks, 2.5 tackles for loss. A&M, they covered -2.5, and I kind of scoffed on Friday's show at why are they favored? I know it's a home game. Kyle Field's a tough place to play. And they said, we got you. Over 46.5. Yeah, another upset. SMU 34-27 over number 22 Louisville. This was a home game. This was in Louisville, Kentucky. Unlike Missouri getting upset on the road, this was a home loss for U of L. Tyler Schuff for the Cardinals, 62.9%, 329, 2 touchdowns, a pick. Kevin Jennings, again, I think Brett Lashley has found his guy. Preston Stone did throw a 10-yard touchdown on his only pass, but I think Kevin Jennings, the dynamism that he gives you at quarterback with the running and passing, I think it's the best guy that they have on the roster. So, and 77.8%, he wasn't bad passing in this game. 281, 10 carries, 113 yards, a touchdown run. Louisville running back Isaac Brown, he led the game in rushing, 10 carries, 117 yards, 5 catches, 44 yards. Louisville wide receiver Ja'Cory Brooks led the game in receiving, 3 for 121, 2 touchdowns there. Rushing touchdown for SMU wide receiver Roderick Daniels Jr. And defensively, I'm going to go with SMU defensive end Elijah Roberts, 5 tackles, 2 solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss. Oh, that's rough. Right off the hands. SMU plus 6.5 wins outright over 55.5. Virginia 24-14 over BC. Dang, man. I don't know what happened in this game. I thought for sure Boston College getting Thomas Castellanos back at quarterback, that would be it. They would be able to go into Charlottesville and win this one. 14-0, I was riding high. I was like, let's go. Eagles are rolling here, up 2 scores. And yeah, dude, the Cavs storming back 24 unanswered to win this one. And Boston College had a chance. They were down 17-14, and Thomas Castellanos was driving them. Inexcusable fumble. It's one of those rolling to the left, trying to throw the ball when a defender is somewhat near you. And at first I thought the defender caused it, but when you look back at the film, he didn't. Thomas Castellanos just lost the ball when he was going back to, cock his arm to throw. So, and then, of course, what happens after that, Virginia returns it for a touchdown to go up 2 scores. So it's tough that the turnovers just demolished Boston College all day. Three for Castellanos in his return. So it's a tough day for him, but young quarterback expected, but I think he'll grow from this. Boston College, I still think it's going to be a good team. And I still do think with the kind of flux that the ACC is in right now, I wouldn't be surprised if Boston College is one of the, 5 teams that are fighting for the ACC at the end of the year. I can't remember, though. This might be loss number 2 in conference, but I cannot recall. So if that is true, then maybe not. But anyway, Virginia has been surprising. I have no clue what Tony Elliott's gotten those boys eating in Charlottesville right now. But the Cavs, I don't know the last time I've seen Virginia this good.
Yeah, I think the ACC in general has been really competitive and has some pretty surprising teams. So,
yeah. The reason why I was down on Virginia is because, I didn't believe in Anthony Calantria. He's a pretty no-name quarterback, 57.7%, 179 touchdown, 8 carries, 23 yards. And that's kind of typical for his stat line. He's kind of the opposite of quarterback they still have. Tony Muskett is still on the roster, but Muskett is more of a passer, and he's throw it all over the field. But with Kobe Pace, the Clemson transfer, I believe, they have some ground game. 19 carries, 83 yards, lead the game in rushing, a 29-yard reception as well. How about Turbo Richard? Turbo is his first name. Yep. Leading the game in rushing for the Eagles. The freshman, 51 yards on 9 carries. BC wide receiver Lewis Bond leading the game in receiving, 7 for 79. And defensively, it's the touchdown. Like I mentioned, the guy that made it a 2-score game and got the game out of reach, safety. Jonas Sanker, 6 tackles, 4 solos, 40-yard fumble return for a touchdown. I do got to say, though, BC defensive end Donovan Azuaku, I still don't know the exact pronunciation of his name. I just butcher it every time I say it, but he has put up a good season so far, halfway through. Virginia -1.5, covered under 53.5. Pitt 34-24 over North Carolina. Yeah, I unwoofed the Tar Heels, man. I just thought I thought Jacoby Criswell could get it done for me, and they were at home. But Eli Holstein continues to play outstanding football for the 5-0 Pitt Panthers now. When's the last time Pitt's been 5-0? It's been a minute.
I'll look it up.
59.5% for Holstein, 381, 3 touchdowns, a pick, 10 carries, 76 yards, a rushing score as well. Jacoby Criswell, 53.3%, 269 touchdown, 4 carries, 14 yards. I think that was a big thing for Pat Narduzzi's defense. They shut down the running game for Criswell. Omarion Hampton was still able to run for 100, but the QB run game, Criswell really was not able to get out of the pocket and run like he had been. Omarion Hampton, though, like I said, continues to eat. 23 carries, 106 yards, touchdown, 3 catches for 16 yards. Desmond Reed, the Western Carolina transfer, 18 carries, 55 yards, led Pitt in rushing outside of Holstein. But how about leading the game in receiving by a lot? 11 receptions, 155 yards, a touchdown for a running back. That's a running back having that receiving line there. This guy's special, I'm telling you. I thought he was special at Western Carolina, but now he's at the FBS level and producing for an undefeated squad. Nate McCollum for UNC. Big day for him, 10 for 128. Pitt wide receiver Kanata Mumpfield also over 100, 3 for 111. And defensively, it's UNC defensive back Caleb Koss, 2 tackles, 1 solo, 1 pass defense, and an 84-yard pick 6. Pitt minus 2.5 covers, under 61.5. Did you find it yet, Jimmy? Navy, 34-7. And how about the armed forces? We're getting them going here. 10-0 combined for Navy and Army. Last time that happened, I believe they said it was 1949, with both of them being undefeated the last time. Yeah, I mean, and they both have quarterbacks that are just dialing it up right now. Blake Horvath, 9 of 15, 60%, 134, 19 carries, 115 yards, 2 touchdowns. Air Force got 2 guys in at quarterback. Quentin Hayes, 5 of 6, 83.3%, 115, a touchdown, 11 carries, 17 yards. John Boucher there, 0 for 2, 1 pick, 3 carries, 13 yards. But Navy, the guy that leads Navy, though, is the man, running back Eli Heidenreich. 6 carries, 100 yards, 5 receptions for 101 yards. 201 total scrimmage yards on 11 carries, 11 touches. That's some efficiency right there. You had Navy fullback Alex Texa get in the end zone twice. And then Heidenreich was the leading receiver in this game. But the leading non-running back, because Navy didn't throw to any receivers in this game, was Air Force wide receiver Trey Roberson, a 45-yard touchdown on his only reception. Defensively, I'm going with Navy safety Jackson Campbell, 7 tackles, 5 solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and a pass defense. Navy minus 9.5 covers, over 37.5. Which I had. Mentioned Army. Black Knights 49-7 over Tulsa. Bryson Daly, like I said, just like Blake Horvath, I mean, Bryson Daly is balling. 5 of 5, 100%, 140 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's a pretty good line for only 5 completions. And almost a perfect passer QB rating there, 99.2. 13 carries, 110 yards, 2 touchdowns for Daly. For Tulsa, they got 2 quarterbacks in. Kirk Francis is the normal starter, 72.7%, only 84 yards, though. Cooper Legis, the Utah State transfer, 57.1%, 4 of 7, 20 yards, 17 carries, 81 yards, a touchdown. Dwayne Coleman, the freshman quarterback for Army, completed his only pass for 20 yards, 7 carries for 21 yards, and a rushing touchdown. Kanye knows how to get it done. Kanye Udo, the running back for Army, 6 carries, 127 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3-yard reception there. Big day for his teammate as well in the receiving game. Running back Noah Short, 3 carries, 11 yards. Wasn't short in the receiving game, that's for sure. 3 catches, 121 yards, 2 touchdowns. And the leading non-running back receiver was Tulsa's wide receiver Camden Benjamin, 7 for 44. Defensively, I'm going with Tulsa safety Ashton Williams, 2 tackles, a solo, sack, tackle for loss. Army minus 13.5 covers, over 50.5. Almost by themselves. Thank you, Tulsa, for scoring.
Can you imagine a world where Army and Navy are playing for a spot in the CFP? The Army-Navy game?
And their beautiful jerseys. Oh,
Yep.
I'm already watching the game every year.
With Army in the AAC now, it sets up right now that Army could play Navy for the American Championship game, and then the next week play again at the Army-Navy game.
Beautiful. It's what we all want.
Because the Army-Navy game doesn't count as an American Conference game. So, yeah, it's an interesting scenario that people talked about whenever it was announced that Army was moving to the American, and now it's like it's a reality almost halfway through the season. Number 3, Ohio State, 35-7 over Iowa, and I feel like this was kind of the same game. It was like deja vu, Jimmy, back-to-back weeks.
Oh, yeah.
They kind of did the same thing against Michigan State last week, where they were kind of slow in the first half and then turned it on and became Ohio State in the second half.
Yeah. Iowa's defense in the first half was really good. And I mean, Ohio State was making a lot of really bad decisions and just bad playmaking skills in the first half. But yeah, I mean, that second half, I don't know what it is, but they must really have a good film team and analytical team. You know, not filming from the sideline from like a certain other team, but like good like guys in the like analytical booth. They're like, hey, here's what we're seeing. Let's make this adjustment in the second half. They must really have a good team there.
Yeah. And Will Howard has been good. 84%, 209, 4 touchdowns, a pick, 10 carries, 28 yards, a touchdown on the ground as well. Cade McNamara for the Hawkeyes, 70%, 98 yards, a pick, 2 fumbles. Again, turnovers, you're going to lose the game. Brendan Sullivan, the Northwestern transfer, came in, completed his only pass for 12 yards, 2 carries, 27 yards as well. Caleb Johnson, the Iowa running back, led the game in rushing, 15 carries, 86 yards, touchdown, 2 catches for 5 yards there. The freshman, Jeremiah Smith, continues to eat. 4 catches, 89 yards, touchdown, carry for 14 yards. However, he did fumble. Freshman mistake. And how about we finally get Emeka Egbuka, 9 for 71, 3 touchdowns in this game.
Finally got his targets.
And Ohio State defensive end Jack Sawyer is my defensive player of the game. 3 tackles, 2 solos, 1.5 sacks, 1.5 tackles for loss. Jay Higgins, though, quite a beast in the middle for the Hawkeyes defense as well. Ohio State minus 17.5 covered, under 45.5. Go Dogs. Number 5, Georgia, 31-13 over Auburn. Kind of similar to the Ohio State game. Georgia started kind of slow in this one, but put it on in the second half for sure. Carson Beck was really good. I mean, he was really, really good. 79.3%, 240, 2 touchdowns. It didn't seem like it was a really great game for Carson Beck, but at the end, when you look at it, his stats were decent. Peyton Thorne, hey, man, he didn't turn the ball over. He can't get mad. Hugh Freeze can't get pissed at him this week because he didn't turn the ball over. 59.3%, 200 yards, 13 carries, 22 yards. Jarquez Hunter led the game in rushing for the Tigers, 13 carries, 91 yards, touchdown, 16-yard reception. How about Trevor Etienne, 2 touchdowns for the Florida transfer? I'm very excited. He's starting to get it rolling for that Georgia ground game. Penn State transfer receiver Keandre Lambert-Smith led the game in receiving for Auburn, 7 for 95. And defensively, I'm going to go with Georgia because F Auburn. Georgia defensive lineman Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, 2 tackles, both of them solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. He has been really good. They've had some injuries on the front, specifically Michael Williams has been banged up, but Ingram Dawkins, he has been solid on the interior for that Georgia defense, especially in the pass rush. And it was just funny. Both of his sacks, when I was listening to the game, they're like, what is the left tackle doing? Like, the first sack he had was the first play of the game. And the left tackle just like didn't go the right way or didn't realize that it was a pass or something. I don't know. And he just kind of like let him go through. This is the easiest sack you'll ever see. Auburn plus 21.5 covered under 49.5. Number 12, Ole Miss, 27-3 over South Carolina. Just saying, I think Ole Miss is the same as Missouri. I think they're on fraud watch here, especially this week, which we'll talk about on Friday. Jackson Dart, 51.9%, 285, 8 carries, 44 yards. Lenora Sellers returned for this game, 62.5%, 162 pick, 15 carries, 55 yards. Good day on the ground for Ole Miss running back Henry Parrish Jr., 21 carries, 81 yards, a touchdown, leading the game in rushing. Leading the game in receiving was Ole Miss wide receiver Antwain Wells Jr., 3 catches, 97 yards. Had a fumble, and so I had the over in this game, which didn't even get close because it was 53.5. I cannot tell you how pissed off I was at Antwain Wells, though. He fumbled into the end zone on a big play. I'm like, what are you? And he didn't even get it knocked out. Like, it wasn't knocked out by the defender. He literally was going to reach the ball for the pylon, and he just kind of like bobbled it himself. I have no clue how he lost it. And I'm just like, what are you doing, bro? Yeah. And how about there's a ton of defense in this game, as you can see. I got to go with the big man, though, for Ole Miss. Defense tackle J.J. Pegues, 2 tackles, both of them solos, 1 tackle for loss. But on offense, he was 2 for 2. 2 carries, 2 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He knows how to get in. And the second touchdown he had some light feet there. I was impressed with his footwork. He he stopped at the line, did a little hop step to the left and got around the pile that was there and got into the end zone. That's what you want to see from the D lineman, right, Logan?
Yes, sir.
Nice footwork. Ole Miss Ole Miss minus 10.5, covered under 51.5. Go Hoosiers, baby! First bowl eligible team this year. Who had that on the bingo card? I know I did. Number 23, Indiana, 41-24 over Northwestern. We're going all the way, man. Hoosier Nation, stand up.
Yes.
Let me hear you.
You were on him early too, Rusty.
I know. You know what? This cashed my bet. I had the over 5.5 on the wins for this year. So it was nice. Even though I did lose one this week as well. I had the over 8 for Kansas this year.
Yeah, that was right there with you.
They are now 1-5 and will not push at 8. That was my only hope, was to push when they were 1-4.
We won't talk about that one.
Yeah, Kansas is in purgatory in the Big 12 right now.
Yeah.
I go through the scores every week and I'm just like, oh, Kansas lost again. Cool.
Yeah, you're gonna have to redact that on my CFP bracket from the beginning of this year. It's just gonna be redacted.
Yeah, dude. I'm telling you, man, Kurt Signetti has changed this program. He got the right pieces. He brought pretty much the entire JMU roster with him, except for Curtis Rourke came from Ohio, and they've got this thing going here. Curtis Rourke, 75.8%, 383 touchdowns. I mean, this kid doesn't miss. Absolutely does not miss. And now this week, I'm getting pissed off at the AP poll. They've barely moved them up every week, and now they're in a 3-way tie at 18 this week. Like, come on, they should be in the top 15. Indiana is a good team, and look, they don't have to play a currently ranked team, which I won't even – I'll say they won't have to play a ranked team until Ohio State because screw Michigan. Michigan won't be ranked by the time Indiana plays them. So, and that's in Bloomington anyways. Michigan ain't going to go on the road to Bloomington and win. So I'm just saying, Indiana could go into Columbus at 10-0. What a sight that would be. College game day would be there. We'd have number 5 Indiana going up against number 1 Ohio State. How about that, Jimmy?
How about
it? 10-0 versus 10-0.
It's what we all want.
I should just make my Indiana national championship bet right now, Logan. I think
you should. It's time to double down.
Could you imagine? Could you? I'd go if you know what. If Indiana wins the freaking national championship, I'm going to the parade in Bloomington. I've never been to Bloomington, so I'm in.
It's supposed to be a beautiful campus.
Actually, well, I've been close. I've been to Indianapolis. Anyways, Jack Lausch for Northwestern, 60.5%, 243, 2 touchdowns, 9 carries, 34 yards. Justice Ellison for the Hoosiers led the game in rushing, 68 yards on 14 carries, a touchdown. You had Indiana wide receiver Elijah Surratt lead the game in receiving, 7 for 135. Bryce Kurtz for Northwestern, 100 yards for him as well, 10 for 128. 2 touchdown day for Northwestern wide receiver A.J. Henning. That's a good player. That is a good player. That does not get a lot of talk, but Henning's had a good career at Northwestern. And defensively, I'm going with Northwestern defensive back Tyron Johnson, 5 tackles, all of them solos, 1 tackle for loss, 3 pass defensed. Indiana minus 12.5 covered, over 38.5 by themselves. Nebraska getting it done, 14-7 against Rutgers. Logan, I think I mentioned on Friday, or maybe it was a different show, that you were going to watch this game because you watch Big Ten games. I hope you did. I hope you watched this game.
I didn't. This is one that passed me by, and I missed some vintage Big Ten football.
I know. So Ethan Kaliak-Manis for the Scarlet Knights here, 40.5%, 186 touchdown, 2 picks. Dylan Raiola, not a great game, 48.1%, 134 a pick. And Illinois is back in the rankings. Why is Nebraska not back in the rankings? That's what I want to know. Kyle Monangai, he led the game in rushing for the Scarlet Knights, 78 yards on 19 carries, 2 catches for 18 yards. You had Nebraska wide receiver Janiran Bonner, 11-yard rushing touchdown for him. Rutgers wide receiver Ben Black led the game in receiving, 2 for 54 and a touchdown. Jimmy, we were talking about, wide receiver versus tight end names the last time you were on last Monday, and I thought for sure when I clicked on Ben Black's name he was going to be a tight end.
Nah, that
sounds like a tight end name.
That's wide receiver all the way. 2 1-syllable names, yeah, that's a wide receiver.
I don't know. I just Black sounded like a tight end name. I don't know.
Yeah,
like you got Ben Sims, Defensively, there's a lot of good players in this one. I'm going to go with Nebraska defensive back Marquise Buford Jr., though. Tackled, 3 pass defense, and a pick. Nebraska did cover, minus 5.5, despite Rutgers scoring late, under 40.5. Down goes Bama, baby. Vandy. The Commodores, 40-35 over number 1 Alabama. Anyone got a location on the goalpost? It is in whatever the hell river is right by Nashville.
Nah, it's in the Smokies.
Yeah. Hey, Logan, by the way, Indiana to win the national championship, 150-1, plus 15,000 right now.
Like those odds. I like that action.
I'm in. Lock it down. Lock it down.
Indiana football to win the inaugural 12-team CFP.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Bookmark it now. Jalen Milroe, 75%. He didn't play bad. 310, 1 touchdown, a pick, 7 carries, 10 yards, a touchdown, and a fumble, but 2 turnovers on the day. One of them led to points. I wish John was on today to talk about Diego Pavia, the New Mexico State transfer. 80%, 252, 2 touchdowns, 20 carries for 56 yards. Yeah, I mean, this guy's a baller. Sub 5'11". He is 5'10", I believe, on a good day. On a good day, he's 5'10". Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch this entire game. I watched a lot of the second half because I was like, Vandy got up 13-0. I was like, there's no way. Bama's going to come back. And then once the third quarter hit, and it's like, wow, Vandy keeps scoring. I'm like, all right, here we go. And then I was like, well, I got to put it in now. I got to. So I went in. I bet on Vandy live plus 320 to win. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's.
Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
Clark Lee, program defining win.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think what's so impressive about this one is that Alabama bridged the gap so many times, like where the momentum felt like, all right, yeah, like this was fun. This was a cute little, first half like type thing. But like you said, Vandy just kept pulling away then. So yeah, really impressive.
Cedric Alexander, leading rusher on the day, 64 yards, 21 carries, 2 touchdowns, 2 catches for 24 yards for the Commodores running back. And that's the thing. I think they mentioned this during the game. Vandy wasn't effective running the ball. Alexander there only 3 yards per carry. Pavia, 2.5 or whatever it is. But the fact that they stuck with it, continued to pound just so there would be some balance offensively, I think was great to see. Tim Beck had an outstanding play calling game, the offensive coordinator there for Vandy. 2 touchdown day for Alabama running back Jam Miller as well. Eli Stowers, the tight end for Vandy, came over with Pavia from New Mexico State, 6 for 113. He's an excellent player. 2 touchdown day for the freshman wide receiver Ryan Williams continues to produce. 3 for 82, a touchdown through the air, 2-yard rushing touchdown as well. And defensively, it's the pick 6. Vandy linebacker Randon Fontenette, 1 tackle, pass defense, and 29-yard pick 6 that got him up 13-0. Vandy plus 22.5 wins outright over 53.5. And this was where the day started to get weird. It all started with them. It did not continue with this game. Number 15, Clemson, 29-13 over Florida State. I was getting pissed. I was getting mad. I had Clemson alternate minus 14, and they got the field goal at the end to make it a 16-point game. Luckily, it didn't matter anyways because for some reason San Diego State and Hawaii decided to combine for 51 points, which those two teams have no business combining for 51 points. Just saying. Of course, like they had to score like one more time to get the over to go. for me not to hit the under, which I had at 49, which was cool. And yeah, so not a fan of the Rainbow Warriors right now, letting up the last touchdown to San Diego State. Cade Klubnik, though, 57.6%, 235, 2 touchdowns, 11 carries, 62 yards. Brock Glenn getting his first start this year for FSU. GJ Uyunglele out, 56.1%, 228, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 5 carries, 15 yards. Phil Maffa, he's been a revelation this year for Clemson. 25 carries, 154 yards, 5-yard reception as well. FSU couldn't run the ball. Look at that. Lawrence Toafili was their leading rusher, 16 yards. Clemson wide receiver Antonio Williams, 84 yards on 3 catches, a touchdown, lead the game in receiving. And defensively, I am going to go with Clemson linebacker Barrett Carter, 10 tackles, a solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, and a pass defense. Florida State plus 16.5, covered by the hook, under 46.5. Number 21, Boise State, 62-30 over Utah State. Dude, Ashton Genty's ridiculous. Draft him number 1 next year. Someone do it. Someone draft him first
Come
overall.
on, Jags, you know you want to do it.
This kid's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And that line, I mean, if they would have continued to play him, which they, sat the starters most of the second half, I mean, he could have ran for 300.
And it's like one of those things, whenever you see, or at least personally, whenever I see like guys in college getting like these high volume like things, you're like, okay, is this like fake? Like, is this just a product of like the offense and the competition he's facing? Mm-hmm. Dude, the average like Ashton Genty like clip is him like breaking like 3 tackles, like making 2 defenders look silly, like starting at one end of, going to one end and ending up on a complete other side of the field. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's like a more fun player to watch like right now. Like, it's just insane what he's doing. I saw a tweet. If Ashton Genty finished the season from here on out getting 10 yards per carry, it would lower his current average because he's like well over like averaging 10 yards.
He's at 10.9 right now.
Yeah.
And guess what? He averages 206.2 rushing yards per game and 3.2 rushing touchdowns per game. That's just ridiculous. He has over 1,000 yards like already. So in 5 games, not even halfway through the season, he has 1,000 yards and 16 touchdowns. And to be honest, he's really not getting high volume. Like, okay, 3 out of the 5 games he's had 20 plus carries, but the other 2 games, the Portland State game and the Utah State game, 11 and 13. So like he's getting rest in those games and he's still producing. Yeah. Portland State wasn't a great line for him. 11 carries, 127 yards, 0 touchdowns. But in this one, as you can see, 13 carries, 186 yards, 3 touchdowns. He got out. He's like, I'm good. So, I mean, and when did I place this? Let's see. October 1st. October 1st, I placed my bet. $10 bonus bet to win 100 on Ashton Genty to win the Heisman. I mean, that's when there's not a clear-cut quarterback like this year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it's a decent shot. Because let's see, who are the front runners here? I know it's Genty. And yeah, look how great my bet is now, Logan. Guess who is the favorite to win the Heisman Trophy right now?
He's got to be.
Yes, he is. Yeah. Plus 225.
Mm-hmm.
And I got it at plus 1,000. Talk about value. Value. Travis Hunter is second at plus 300. I still don't buy his candidacy. I don't know. It just doesn't pop. I know like he's good and he has good stats, especially receiving, but I don't know. Yeah, Cam Ward, Jimmy's guy, Jalen Milrose fourth, and then Dylan Gabriel is fifth. So, yeah, I'm very happy with my selection of my Heisman bet. We're not going to talk about my other Heisman bet that I have in. So Spencer Petras. I mean, this is the game of Spencer Petras' career between Iowa and Utah State, and he still lost by 32. 65.
That's a crazy blast from the past name.
65.9%, 372, 3 touchdowns. That's rough to lose. Not just lose, but lose by 32 with that stat line. For Boise State, I mean, Maddox Madsen continues to be good. 84%, 256, 3 touchdowns. Malachi Nelson, the guy he beat for the spot, 71.4%, 47 yards a pick. Mentioned Genty's stats already. But Rasul Faison for the Aggies, over 126 carries, 109 yards, touchdown, 1 reception for -1 yard. Boise running back Dylan Riley, just 16 yards on 8 carries, 2 catches for 9 yards, 96-yard kick return touchdown for him. And I mentioned Jalen Royals. Jalen Royals is a great player. He really is. He's been a good player for a couple years now at Utah State. 9 catches, 211 yards, and 2 touchdowns in this one. Again, that's tough to lose with that. And defensively, I'm going to go with Boise linebacker Andrew Simpson, 6 tackles, 5 solos, 2.5 tackles for loss. Boise minus 27.5, covers over 66.5, 92 in that game. And by the way, Boise, look at their schedule. I really think they only have one hard game. And I don't think it's even going to be that tough because Boise has a bye this week. Or in 2 weeks. They have a bye after this week. So they're going to get 2 weeks to prepare to go to UNLV, who just got knocked off by Syracuse. And I think that's going to be your Mountain West Championship preview because I think that's what it's going to look like at the end as well. I mean, when you look at it, Boise does have some other teams that they play that have 4-1 records right now. San Jose State is a road game. And then Oregon State they host at the end. So, yeah, I mean, maybe. But to be honest, I think right now it's looking like Boise's an 11-1 CFP team, even though I don't want them to be because they were not my pick. Texas State was my pick for the CFP out of the group of 5. There's still a lot of ball to go. Texas State's struggling though right now, 3-2. Jimmy, you gotta get your boys together here.
Doing my best.
Speaking of getting together, like this game is the most boring thing I've ever witnessed in the history of watching sports. Jimmy, you're gonna bag on me because you're gonna be like, it's a baseball. It's a nice baseball game. Yeah, shocker.
What do you want?
UL Monroe. How about the Warhawks? 4-1. They upset JMU 21-19, and JMU had a chance. They missed the 2-point conversion at the end to tie this one. So, yeah. Still though, Alonzo Barnett, I've been impressed by him. 42.6%, not great. 251, 15 carries, 49 yards, a touchdown, and a fumble. Aiden Armenta for the Warhawks, 56.7%, 147 touchdown, a pick. Ahmad Hardy for ULM, leading the game in rushing, 14 for 82 and a touchdown. You had JMU wide receiver Yamir Knight lead the game in receiving, 4 for 67. And by the way, if you want to go look up Ymir Knight and look at his picture on ESPN, because when I saw the name Ymir Knight and then you click on it and you look at what his picture is, I was like, yeah, that looks like a guy named Ymir. So yeah, just if you want to go look that up. And defensively, I got to go with the guy that has no tackles but had a touchdown. ULM linebacker Daniel Knudsen, 82-yard fumble return for touchdown. ULM plus 16.5 wins outright under 47.5. I had an inside joke in my head with Daniel's last name. Didn't want to make that one on the air. Arkansas. Arkansas 19-14 upset over number 4 Tennessee. And yeah, how about the Hogs? Sam Pittman getting it done. The defense for Arkansas all night. And that's one thing that I heard when I just heard about people talking college football, like, you know, after Georgia lost and then after Bama lost, it's like, all right, well, like, who did we trust? Who did we still trust at the top, right? And I think a lot of people were like, Tennessee, right? Like, they had been killing people. They've been running the ball. They've been playing excellent defense. Nico had been, great in his first full season as a starter so far. And now they lose. So it's like, well, I don't know. Who do you trust anymore? And now I think a lot of people are back on Georgia. And it's really Ohio State is obviously the most common one. I think you have to trust Texas still because I think luckily for them, they didn't play this week, so they didn't have a chance to get upset. But yeah, I think those are the three. I think Georgia, Ohio State, Texas are the three you can somewhat still trust, with Georgia and Texas still having to play each other. Taylen Green, though, 70.4%, 266. Malachi Singleton, how about the freshman winning the game? 66.7%, 2 for 3, 31 yards, 4 carries, 12 yards, the game-winning rushing touchdown. That Tennessee let him score. I didn't watch this game. I was listening to the end of it. But there is no doubt in my mind when I first listened to the play, and because I listened and I was like, well, Tennessee didn't have any more timeouts, I believe. And I said it before Kirk Herbstreit, just saying. I had witnesses. There were passengers in my car driving Uber. They heard it. I said, I think they just let them score. Herbstreit's like, did they let them score? Just saying, I'm better than Herbstreit. Just happens all the time. I say stuff before the announcers. I don't know. Nico, though, Yama Leava, 58.6%, 158, 11 carries, 17 yards. Dylan Sampson continued to have a good game at 138, 22 carries, 2 touchdowns, 11-yard reception there. Interesting, Jaquindon Jackson really couldn't get going, but Braylon Russell, the freshman running back, he had a good day. Arkansas wide receiver Andrew Armstrong, great day for him, 9 for 132. And you knew it wasn't a great night for Tennessee when, the leading receiver, Dante Thornton, just 1 catch for 1. But, 42 yards was the leading receiver for Tennessee. Brew McCoy did not really get in this game at all. Defensively, it's still Tennessee, though. Defensive lineman James Pierce Jr., 9 tackles, 5 solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, 1 pass defense. Man's beast. Arkansas, plus 14.5, wins outright under 57.5. Yes, sir. We have a new Rusty's Huskies. It is no longer NIU. It is now Washington. Rusty's Huskies getting it done. 27-17 over number 10, Michigan. Telling you, Michigan not a top 25 team. Washington, don't know why they're not ranked after they won this one. But anyways. Will Rogers, 67.7%, 271, 2 touchdowns, a pick. And Damon Williams Jr., the sophomore, I think he's a freshman, completed both of his passes for 44 yards, 5 carries, 20 yards. And the one thing I will say, though, Michigan does have a better shot than they did because the offense completely changed when Indiana transfer Jack Tuttle came in, transferred from Indiana last year, but had an elbow injury that limited him this year. So this was his first action, 55.6%, 98 yards, touchdown. However, he turned the ball over, a pick, 5 carries, 14 yards, and a fumble. Alex Orji was doing what Alex Orji does, 42.9%, 15 yards, 3 carries for 11 yards. So, yeah. Donovan Edwards, I mean, again, he's the only offense that Michigan has. 95 yards on 14 carries, touchdown, 2 catches for 23 yards. And I'm telling you, this is why I believed in Washington. And, you know, I still think they should have won at Rutgers 2 weeks ago. That was a difficult loss. Grady Gross had a terrible game at kicking the ball. If he didn't, they would have won because he missed 3 field goals in that game. But Jonah Coleman and the running attack of Washington is why I think Washington has a chance in the Big Ten this year. Not that they're going to be world beaters, but when Brent Brennan when Jed Fish brought Jonah Coleman with him from Arizona, I thought that was a big thing, and he's been producing 80 yards on 18 carries, touchdown, 13-yard reception as well. Washington wide receiver Denzel Boston led the game in receiving, 80 on 5 catches and a touchdown. And defensively, I am going to go with Michigan defensive end Josiah Stewart having a good season, 4 tackles, all of them solos, a sack, 2 tackles for loss. Washington -1.5 covered over 39.5.
All right, fellas, I got to hop off.
All right, man.
Peace.
Minnesota getting it done, 24-17 over number 11 USC. Out of all the upsets this week, this was the one I could tell you there's no way in hell I saw this thing coming. Absolutely not. Like Minnesota's not a good team. I know they're 3-3, but dude. And the crazier part, I think USC dropped all the way out of the rankings because of this loss. Miller Moss, 60.5%, 200, 1 touch, 2 picks. Max Brosmer, 78.9%. He had a great game, 169, 7 carries, 14 yards, 3 rushing touchdowns. That's ridiculous. To let up 3 rushing touchdowns for Max Brosmer. I think they were all 1-yard QB sneaks, though. Darius Taylor had a great game for the Gophers on the ground. 25 carries, 144 yards, a fumble, 5 catches, 56 yards. Your guy, Woody Marks, 100-yard performance on the ground for the Trojans. 20 carries, 134 yards, touchdown, 4 catches for 30 yards. Leading the game in receiving, USC wide receiver Kyron Hudson, 5 for 54. And defensively, how about Minnesota defensive back Justin Wally? He's an excellent player. 3 tackles, 2 solos, 4 pass defense. I remember him last year playing very well also. Minnesota +9.5 wins outright under 44.5. One team that did not get upset, number 16 Iowa State continues their good play, 43-21 over Baylor. And right now we're almost halfway through for some teams, not for others, but looking like an Iowa State BYU Big 12 championship game. That would be something. Just the people in the crowd would be something to watch at that game. You got the corn farmers and Iowa State fans. You got the Mormons and the BYU fans. Corn farmers and Mormons. What a crowd it would be. Rocco Becht, he's been awesome for Matt Campbell's and Cyclones. 64%, 277, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 3 carries for 28 yards. Sawyer Robertson for the Bears, 56.8%, 258, 3 touchdowns, a pick, 3 carries, 24 yards. Jalen Jackson over 100 for the Cyclones, 15 carries, 107, and 2 touchdowns for him. Iowa State wide receiver Jaden Higgins over 100 receiving, 8 for 116 and a touchdown. Defensively, I got to go with Iowa State defensive back Caden Matson. No defensive stats, but a 25-yard blocked punt return for a touchdown. Iowa State minus 12.5, covered over 45.5. Georgia Tech, baby, got my lone wolf, 24-14 over the Duke. This was in Atlanta. I did not believe that Duke could travel and win a road game in Atlanta. And I thought Brent Key's team also would be more physical, and that they were, looking at the rushing numbers for the Yellow Jackets here. Malik Murphy, though, the Texas transfer for Duke, 58.1%, 205, 2 touchdowns, a pick. Haynes King really wasn't asked to do a lot for Brent Key's squad, 74.2%, 167, 2 touchdowns, 12 carries, 30 yards. Jamal Haynes, though, like I said, the ground game was the key to this one for the Yellow Jackets. 19 carries, 128 yards, 3 catches for 12 yards, and a touchdown. Georgia Tech also got a rushing touchdown from backup quarterback Zach Pyron, 3 carries, 9 yards, and a rushing score. Georgia Tech wide receiver Malik Rutherford, leading receiver in this one, 76 yards on 8 receptions. And then defensively, I'm going to go with the top guy there, Duke linebacker Trey Freeman, excellent player, 11 tackles, 7 solos, 2.5 tackles for loss. Georgia Tech minus 8.5, covered under 51.5. You don't know how pissed I am at this game, bro. This was ridiculous. I freaking hate Miami so much.
Miami on fraud watch?
Dude, they're so annoying. Like, almost losing to Virginia Tech, almost losing to Cal. Like, it's ridiculous. And I have no clue what Cal was doing on the winning score or the winning drive there from Miami. The announcer said on they had, the big play by Xavier Restrepo to get them down pretty far. The announcer said, they started playing zone on that play. He's like, they hadn't done this all night. I'm like, then why are you playing it? Why are you playing a defense you have not played the entire night? It made no sense. I understand playing zone when you're up makes a ton of sense because, you're not getting picked off on crossing routes and whatnot. But if you are having success playing man, play man. Like, good Lord. Like, this was an absolute meltdown for Cal. 25-point lead at one point. And they lost. Like, what are you doing? And also, it is tough because you see their quarterback Chandler Rogers, the UL Monroe transfer. It's tough because his one incompletion was in the end zone. And again, I was listening to this game, but it sounded like it was a catchable ball. The tight end was not able to catch it or dropped it in the end zone. That would have gotten Cal another touchdown instead of 3, which would have made the difference. Obviously, they're 41-39 instead of 38. So that's one of those plays. And also, good Lord, how I want to know. I want to see what the Miami payroll is for the refs because this is 2 weeks in a row. Last week, I didn't really fault the refs. Live, I thought the Hail Mary for Virginia Tech was an incompletion. And then I really wasn't sure because replay kind of looked like it was completion. This week, a targeting call that they said no targeting on was clearly targeting. It was a launch with the crown of his helmet to now Fernando Mendoza's head. It was a different set of circumstances because he was a runner and not a passer. He was not a defenseless player as a runner. But the indicator was there, and he hit with the crown of his head to the head or neck area of a runner. So And the announcers were like, to me, it's clear. It's clear targeting. They called it no targeting, Cal has to punt, and Miami goes down and wins the game. Like, that was ridiculous call. Absolutely just not right. It wasn't a right call. And I don't know. Again, I hate having to come down to the officials, but we know it does at times. So I don't know. Anyways, that's my long rant on why Miami shouldn't have won this game. But they did, and they are bowl eligible. They are now number 6 or whatever it is, and 7. But yeah, I mean, they have to be watched for sure. Cam Ward, 66%, 437, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 6 carries, 15 yards, a rushing touchdown. Fernando Mendoza, 50% passing. But the explosive plays were there all night for Cal. 285, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 6 carries for 20 yards. Mentioned Chandler Rogers there, 1 of 2 for 12 yards, 2 carries, 11 yards, and a rushing touchdown. Jimmy, are we ever going to get runs in this game, or like what are
in the bottom of the 9th?
Are we just going to go to like 20 innings tonight?
Nah, bottom of the 9th. Don't worry, we'll get some runs.
It doesn't matter anymore, Jimmy, because Matthew Boyd did not allow 2 runs like I needed him to.
Because he's the GOAT.
Well, at least Scooball got his strikeouts. Ramirez doesn't have a hit, I bet. So, Mark Fletcher led the game in rushing for Miami, 81 yards on 11 carries, touchdown. Cal running back Jaden Ott, big touchdown reception. Xavier Restrepo, again, I love Xavier Restrepo. Hate Miami now, though. 7 catches for 163 yards, led the game in receiving. Defensively, it's the touchdown guy. Cal, defensive back Noel Williams, 3 tackles, 2 solos, 40-yard pick 6. Cal plus 8.5, covered over 53.5, 77. Another lone wolf for me. That was one of the other things I was pissed about Cal. I was this close to making it 3 for 30 late night lone wolves. Texas Tech 28-22 over Arizona. Noah Fafita 57.1%, 301, 2 picks. Baron Morton for Texas Tech 58.6%, 214. But what I said needed to happen in this game did. Texas Tech got the running game going. Taj Brooks has been awesome for the Red Raiders. 21 carries, 128, 3 touchdowns, 1 reception, -2 yards. Quali Conley there for Arizona, just under 197 and a touchdown. Dude, Tedro McMillan's a dude. He is quite the guy. 8 receptions, 161 yards. Jimmy, just think. You put him.
I do think
with Justin Jefferson.
Oh.
And Jordan Addison.
Oh. Now we're talking.
Sam Darnold's a Hall of Famer.
Oh, hell yeah.
Texas Tech also had a 100-yard wide receiver Caleb Douglas, 5 for 116. Defensively, I don't know what ESPN was doing. They do this from time to time. They didn't put the stats in on the defense for this game. So we're going to go with Texas Tech. Linebacker Jacob Rodriguez, 2 tackles, both of them solos, a sack, tackle for loss. Texas Tech plus 5.5 wins outright, under 62.5. FCS game of the week. You're one lone wolf, Jimmy, that went down in flames pretty quickly at the Fargo Dome. Number 2, North Dakota State crushing in-state rival number 7, North Dakota, 41-17. Cam Miller was outstanding, 68.4%, 168, 2 touchdowns, 8 carries, 39 yards, a rushing score. Cole Payton also played a little bit, 3 of 5, 60%, 53 yards, touchdown, 4 carries, 47 yards. Simon Ramfo for North Dakota. I wouldn't have picked North Dakota just for that guy's name. I'd never heard of a name, Ramfo. What the hell is that? 78.3%, 166 touchdown, 9 carries, 28 yards, and a fumble. North Dakota State running back Shamar Brown led the game in rushing, 21 carries, 83 yards, touchdown, 7-yard reception. Bo Belquist for the Skyhawks. He had a good game, led the game in receiving, 4 for 61. And defensively, the 2 fumble recoveries for NDSU, defensive end Dylan Hendricks and defensive tackle Jackson Dutenheffer. North Dakota State minus 14.5 covered. Under 60.5. Vikings are 5-0. Go ahead in your best British accent.
No, I don't have a British accent. I'm not gonna subject our listeners to that. But I mean, hey, we keep winning. That's all that matters. 1 second, I gotta answer that.
Al Davis said it best, baby. Just win.
Just win, baby.
Yeah, Vikes 3-17 over the Jets.
I mean, look at those stat line from Aaron, and you got your answer. Gave up 2 touchdowns, sure, but 3 interceptions and a 54.9 passer rating.
Yep.
This was a defensive slugfest, especially in the second half. Aaron Jones of the Vikings went down pretty early, and it was pretty clear how important it was to the offense, especially in the run game. Because in the second half, I think Vikings had like 6 rushing yards. It was pretty rough second half for this offense, and Sam Darnold did not have a good game either. I think the Jets have one of the most underrated defensive units in the entire league. I think they should be up there in like top 5, especially a guy. You might have a different defensive player of the game, but for me, it's got to be DJ Reed. I mean, that guy was awesome. He's the only reason it felt like a game that the Vikings could lose. But yeah.
Well, he, along with Sauce Gardner, I think they're still getting flags thrown on them right now.
That's true. A lot of flags on the game.
I mean, there had to have been at least 6 flags on those two combined.
Dude, the officiating was awful. I'm sorry, but like I think the Vikings had 9 penalties and Jets had 8. Like that roughing the penalty kicker, I was like blown away by that.
That was BS, yeah.
I was blown away by that.
But I don't think I've ever seen Sauce Gardner get flagged that many times.
Dude, he's going up against Jets. What do you want?
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers, 53.7%. You mentioned 244, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks. I got the gink, man. I got the gink for sure, because I love watching those locks run down the field.
The floor is moving, man.
Well, and they got reunited from their time in Miami. Darnold, 45.2%, 179, a pick, 5 carries, 11 yards, and a fumble.
That fumble.
Yeah, Ty Chandler sucks.
He was
I think I mentioned this in our group chat. This is why I dropped Ty Chandler in the leagues that I had him, because he's not good. And now he's going to be the starting running back because Aaron Jones is probably out for maybe a week. Luckily, they got the bye. They have 30 yards on 14 carries, leading rusher in the game somehow. 2 catches for 9 yards. How about CJ Ham getting a touchdown in London? Garrett Williams, that was one thing for the Jets. Like this connection finally popped. I mean, it took 22 targets, which is just insane. 13 receptions, 101 yards, and a touchdown. Yeah, it was. I was very frustrated. I had Mike Williams over receiving yards in this game, and he got 7 targets, I think, but only caught 3 or 2 for 25. And I was like, bruh. and then every time he was like wide open. And then they were on the 7-yard line. I thought he still needed 7 yards and not 6, but regardless, I was like, bro, throw a touchdown to Mike Evans or Mike Williams. I mean, yeah, Justin Jefferson, though, 14 targets, big day for him. Caught only 6, though, for 92 yards. 10 targets for wide receiver Allen Lazard. Caught 4 for 34 and a touchdown. Yeah, I mean, Allen Lazard, I think definitely I thought Mike Williams was going to be the number 2, but Allen Lazard has been very good for New York this year. And yeah, defensively, I told you I got the gink, man. The gink is lit. Only 1 tackle. It was not a solo, but he did have 1 pass defense, 1 QB hit, 1 interception that he returned 63 yards for a touchdown. I mean, it was a great performance all over. both teams defensively. Vikings -2.5 covered under 42.5. Bears demolishing the Panthers as I thought they would. Don't know what you and Logan were smoking on this one, but maybe some Aaron Rodgers ayahuasca or something.
Yeah, they came all the way through from London.
Caleb Williams, I mean, he was good. 69%, 304, 2 touchdowns, 5 carries, 34 yards. Andy Dalton was the opposite of good. 64.3%, 136 a pick. And then he got benched for Bryce Young, 4 of 7, 57.1%, 58 yards. So more QB questions for Panthers. Does Bryce start coming up this week or in the ensuing weeks? I don't know. Literally the only, maybe I won't say the only because got J.C. Horn on defense, but the only bright spot on offense is Chuba Hubbard. He has been very good all season, regardless of who's playing quarterback. 13 carries, 97 yards. Lead the game in rushing, touchdown, a fumble, 4 catches, -2 yards. DeAndre Swift had another good game, touchdown. I'm getting sick of this freaking goal line work share, though, in Chicago. This is bullshit. Okay. Why they give DeAndre Swift a carry that he gets to the 1 yard line, and then they bring in Rashawn Johnson to get the easy 1 yard touchdown? Like, bro, come on, Eberflus. BS.
Come on, my guy.
I need the fantasy points. Rashawn
I got
Johnson
the
doesn't need
fantasy
them. He doesn't need them. He doesn't need
I
them.
got him. I wanted him. I asked.
Bears wide receiver DJ Moore. This one probably felt really good for him. Just crushing his former team. 5 for 105, 2 touchdowns on 8 targets to demolish the Panthers. Interesting. A rookie, Jalen Coker. How about him leading the Panthers in receiving? Undrafted out of Holy Cross.
Emmanuel Classe just gave up a 3-run home run. Game over.
Bet. Defensively, I'm going with Bears defense tackle Javon Dexter Sr. 2 tackles, a solo, or no solos. 1 sack, 4 QB hits though.
Of course.
And Bears -3.5 cover easily over 39.5. I feel like I had something else for that game, but I don't remember. Ravens 41-38 in overtime. Thank you, Baltimore, because -2.5 was not looking great. Yeah, I mean, are the Bengals the Bungles again? Because kind of what it looks like. I mean, it's rough. I mean, all 4 of their losses, like 1-score games. That's really rough. I think all 5 of the Panthers game was a 1-score as well. I believe it was 34-27. I think it was. So yeah, I mean, yeah, that's tough. That is tough for the Bengals to lose these 1-score games. And to be honest, it's Joe Burrow's fault. Like, they had the ball. They could have ran the ball and, got a first down and ran the clock out. Baltimore wouldn't have gotten the chance to kick the game tire, and Bengals are 2-3. But he made his only mistake of the day on a day that was pretty good. 76.9%, 392, 5 touchdowns. But the interception cost them. Set up the Justin Tucker game-tying field goal. And then, of course, Lamar fumbles the snap in overtime. And then the Bengals, what do? They bungle again because Evan McPherson misses the field goal that would have won the game. And then they let Derrick Henry rumble down the field. And I was kind of pissed as a Derrick Henry fantasy owner. Like, Ravens, what are you doing, bro? Kicking the field goal, a 24-yard field goal. That's just a coaching thing on my part. You're in overtime. I understand, like, stuff can happen. Like, you can fumble on offense and whatnot. But I would trust handing the ball off inside the 5-yard line to Derrick Henry over a snap operation on a kick. Because I just think there's more that can go wrong. Even on a short field goal like that, you just never know. I don't know. That's just mine. Lamar, though, 61.9%, 348, 4 touchdowns, 12 carries, 55 yards, a fumble. Derrick Henry, 92 yards, led the game in rushing, 15 carries, 1 touchdown, 4-yard reception. My guy Chase Brown continues to be good. How about Jamar Chase? 10 for 193, caught 10 of his 12 targets, 2 touchdowns. Zay Flowers, big day for him. 12 targets, 7 receptions, 111 yards. I know you loved having Zay Flowers in this game, Jimmy. On the bench.
In one of my leagues. I start him in another.
Wide receiver T. Higgins for the Bengals, also 2 touchdown day on his 14 targets, caught 9. And then defensively, 2 touchdown day for tight end Isaiah Likely for the Ravens as well on his 3 targets. And defensively, I am going to go with the Bengals. Defensive end Sam Hubbard, 9 tackles, 7 solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, 2 QB hits. All right, Guardians about to tie this in the bottom of the 9th here. Go to extras. That's what we want to see, right? Ravens -2.5 covered over by the hook, over 47.5, 79 in that game. Another high scoring one. Jags 37-34 over the Colts. John said, who is crazy enough to pick Jacksonville? And I said, me, sir. I gave him the raised hand emoji. And guess what? Logan was riding with me. Me and him took the Jags against the Colts, and we got it right. And how about, dude, I started off hot. I was perfect in the 1 o'clock window. Just saying. You'll see what the record shook out on Friday, but I had a very good day. Very, very good day. Trevor Lawrence also had a very, very good day. 82.4%, 371, 2 touchdowns, a pick. Joe Flacco, 75%, 359, 3 touchdowns. I mean, is Joe Flacco like 24 or 44? I don't like what is I don't know. This man is ageless. 3 carries, 22 yards, and a fumble. And that run by Joe Flacco was just absolutely amazing. He ran 18 miles an hour. That was something else to watch Joe Flacco run 18 miles an hour. They talked about the Chicago thing, bro. This backfield split in Jacksonville is pissing me off as well as a Travis Etienne owner. Why? Why is Tank Bigsby getting all these touches? 13 carries, 101 yards, 2 touchdowns, 28-yard reception. Travis Etienne wasn't even on the field in the second half, it looked like. I don't know. I think the Colts really missed Jonathan Taylor in a close game. Trey Sermon was just not that guy, although he did score a touchdown. Alec Pierce, how about 3 catches? Caught all 3 of his targets for 134 yards, lead the game in receiving a touchdown. Brian Thomas Jr., the rookie, over 100 as well. Caught 5 of his 8 targets for 122 touchdown. 12 target day for Josh Downs. Caught 9 for 69. And defensively, dude, number 1 overall pick, former number 1 overall pick, defensive end Trayvon Walker, Georgia boy getting it done. 5 tackles, 4 solos, 3 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, pass defense, 3 QB hits for the Jags. Jacksonville or Colts +3.5 covered by the hook, over 44.5. 71. Dolphins, baby. Lone wolfing them. Told you Tyler Huntley was going to get it done. 15-10 over the Patriots. Huntley 58.1%, 194 a pick. Jacoby Brissett 52.9%, 160 and a 10-yard carry. Ramondre Stevenson, how about bounce back for him? 89 yards on 12 carries. Touchdown. Guess what? No fumbles. No fumbles. For the first time this season, he did not fumble in a game. 4 receptions for 3 yards as well. The rookie Jalen Wright was also very good for Miami when Devon Achane went out. And we love fullback touchdowns. We had one in London with CJ Ham. How about Alec Ingold getting a 3-yard touchdown run in this one? Tyreek, first productive day in a while. Caught 6 of his 9 targets for 69 yards. And defensively, I am going to go with Miami defense tackle Zach Sealer. 1 tackle, it was a solo sack, tackle for loss, 3 QB hits. The Dolphins -2.5 covered, under 36.5. Commanders just demolishing Cleveland 34-13. And the crazy part about this is Jaden Daniels didn't even have a good day, not to his standard of what he had been playing like the first 4 games. Only 56%, very much below where he had been. 238, a touchdown, a pick, 11 carries, 92 yards. And dude, I mean, Deshaun Watson he ain't it. He is not it. And again, it's like Cleveland stuck. Like they can't do anything. They cannot do anything with him. So it's either like Kevin Stefanski got to make a bold move and bench their $50 million quarterback for Jameis Winston, or just continue to lose games and more than likely lose his job in the midst of it. So, and also, by the way, this is the Browns' worst start since, the last time when they went 0-16. What was that, 2016, something like that? Yeah. Deshaun Watson, though, 53.6%, 125 touchdown, 3 carries, 14 yards, and a fumble. Austin Eckler, surprisingly leading the game in rushing outside of Jaden Daniels, 6 for 67, 2 catches, 30 yards. 2 touchdown day for his teammate, Brian Robinson. Not a good rushing day, only 18 yards. Washington wide receiver Terry McLaurin, over 100, 4 for 112 on 8 targets and a fumble. Amari Cooper had 10 targets, caught 4 for 60. And defensively, good Lord, there's a lot of good players in this one. I'm going to go with Washington linebacker Frankie Louvu. That's my dude. I love Frankie Louvu. Great player coming over from Carolina this year. 7 tackles, 4 solos, 2.5 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 3 QB hits. Washington -3.5, over 43.5. Texans. How about another lone wolf for yours truly? 23-20 over the Bills. CJ Stroud, 73.7%, 331, a touchdown, a pick, 3 carries, 27 yards, and a fumble. And kind of like the Vikings game, this one kind of stopped whenever Nico Collins went down. Talking about one skill player making a big difference. Nico Collins goes out with a hamstring injury, and the Bills started playing. And the Texans really couldn't get a lot going on offense after that. Josh Allen was horrendous. It's absolutely it was crazy that the Bills were even in this game because of how bad Josh Allen was. 30%. 30. You never see that from a starting quarterback, let alone Josh Allen. 9 for 30 passing, 131, a touchdown, 4 for 54. Just killed me in fantasy, bro. Oh my goodness. I think it was 7 points in fantasy or something like that. It is ridiculous. Yikes. James Cook led the game in rushing, 20 carries, 82 yards, touchdown, 2 catches for 17. Texans wide receiver Stephon Diggs led the game in receiving, caught 6 of his 8 for 82 yards. The rookie Keon Coleman caught 1 of his 5 targets for a 49-yard touchdown. Defensively, I'm going to go with Houston linebacker Azeez Al-Shaair, great free agent pickup this year. 8 tackles, 5 solos, 1 tackle for loss, 2 pass defense, and 2 QB hits. Oh no, we got 1 out already.
Yeah,
I'm probably very behind you.
I think it's over. I haven't checked any updates since
Texans -1.5 covered, under 47.5. And by the way, I kind of got a lucky dog pick because during the show on Friday, or when I did the dog stuff for the show, the Dolphins were an underdog to the Patriots, but I don't know how that line swung that much, but it was -1 for the Patriots in that game. And I mentioned, we did the Dolphins game already. -2.5 for Miami closed. I was like, good Lord, 3.5 point swing. That's crazy on the betting lines. Broncos 34-18 over the Raiders. Jimmy, this was your lone wolf. I think your only one for the week. Did not go well. No. Bo Nick said, I got you. 70.4%, 206, 2 touchdowns, a rushing score for Bo. Gardner Minshew, 70.6%, 137 touchdown, 2 picks, 2 carries for 22 yards. And I mean, Minshew, I mean, I have no clue what he was thinking on the Pat Surtain pick 6. Like, bro, again, just like I said with Dylan Gabriel, throw the ball away. Like, you have 3 points. The Raiders were already up, I believe, in this game at that point. Throw the ball away, and he should know better. He's a veteran quarterback. He knows better. And I know he did try to throw it to Brock Bowers technically, but in the red zone, more specifically in the end zone, you can't overthrow a guy and expect it to not be intercepted, especially when it's short end zone. Aiden O'Connell came in for Minshew there, not very good, 50%, 94 yards and a pick. Javonte Williams led the game in rushing, 61 yards on 13 carries, 5 for 50 on his 6 targets. Raiders rookie tight end Brock Bowers led the game in receiving, 8 for 97. Touchdown on 12 targets there. And defensively, it's Pat Surtain. I mean, that's the easiest one. Broncos corner, 30 tackles, 2 solo, 2 pass defense, 2 picks, one of those 100-yard pick 6. Broncos minus 2.5 covered, over 35.5 easily. Dude, the afternoon window was not good. we lost a lot collectively.
If you bet any money on what we said, too bad. But oh yikes!
the 1 o'clock was great. Like I said, I went undefeated in the 1 o'clock. With after the 4:05, 4:25 games were not very nice. Cardinals 24-23 over the 49ers. And this was another choke job for Kyle Shanahan. I mean, it's becoming a theme now, not just in Super Bowls. It's in the regular season now too, because this is the second one. I mean, and to make it worse for 49ers fans, like, it's against divisional opponents that you're losing these comebacks to. So it's double time of how bad it is for San Francisco. And I won't say that they're really missing Christian McCaffrey, but it wouldn't hurt to have him. Jordan Mason did fumble. And also I know they mentioned on Sunday Night Football, you look at that Jordan Mason long run that he had, and CMC probably scores in that one. So, and Mason got drugged down. So, Brock Purdy, though, 54.3%, 244, touchdown, 2 picks, 4 carries for 33 yards. Kyler wasn't even that good, but his legs killed San Fran's defense a lot of the day. 63.3%, 195, a touchdown, a pick, 7 carries for 83 yards, a rushing touchdown. And, I mean, the 4th down throw to Marvin Harrison was fantastic. I mean, that was lights out for Kyler, and he got it out when he had the whole house blitzing for San Fran, and he got it out, and I didn't think he had a chance. But then MHJ came through. Jordan Mason, like I said, led the game in rushing, 89 yards on 14 carries, a fumble, and a 9-yard reception. Brandon Ayuk led the game in receiving. Big day, 12 targets, caught 8 for 147. Silver lining for the 49ers, I guess. 12 targets for George Kittle as well. Caught 8 for 64 and a touchdown. That's the type of fantasy production I've been waiting on, George. Stop eating Little Caesars pizza and catch some balls out there, man. And defensive player of the game has to be Diamador Lenore for the 49ers. 8 tackles, 3 solos, 1 pass defense, 61-yard blocked field goal, returned for a touchdown. Nick Bosa also had a great day with an interception. Cardinals plus 7.5 went outright under 48.5. Go Pack Go. Getting it done in LA, 24-19 over the Rams. Matthew Stafford, 64.4%, 260, a touchdown, a pick. Jordan Love, 57.7%, 224, 2 touchdowns, and the eerie interception. I mean, good Lord. That was that was horrendous. I don't think I've seen as bad of interception as Jordan Love's interception that he had. I mean, either make sure like the ball's going to go out of bounds or just take the safety, dude. Like, not a big deal. Now I understand it kind of did work out for the Packers because you take the safety, it's 2 points for the Rams. But then the Rams get the ball back. In this scenario, Rams might have scored 7. However, the Packers get the ball back. I don't know. Maybe it was a better decision for Jordan Love to throw the pick 6. 3 carries for 10 yards for Love there. Kyron Williams over 100 for LA. 102 on 22 carries, touchdown, a fumble, 3-yard reception. Josh Jacobs finally scored for Green Bay. Been waiting on that. Of course, it didn't come when I needed it to. Rams wide receiver Jordan Whittington. How about the rookie 6th rounder leading the game in receiving? 7 for 89 on 10 targets. 2 touchdown day for tight end Tucker Kraft on his 5 targets. 10 targets for Tutu Atwell as well. 6 for 58 there. And then defensively, it's the touchdown for safety Jalen McCullough was good. I'm going to go with Rams defense tackle Kobe Turner, though. 6 tackles, 5 solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles, loss, 1 pass defense, 2 QB hits. Packers minus 2.5 covered under 49.5. Giants. This was the most shocking one of the day, I have to say. I don't think there's no one in their right mind that could say they saw this coming. 29-20 over the Seahawks in Seattle. There was absolutely no defense for Seattle most of the day. And despite one play that they had. Geno Smith, though, 70%, 284 touchdown. Really paltry fantasy performance, but he did save the day with his 4 carries for 72 rushing yards. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Still not going to be enough because Harrison Butker is going to break my heart tonight. Daniel Jones, 67.6%, 257, 2 touchdowns, 11 carries, 38 yards. Danny Dimes is not back. I'm just going to say it right now. They won without Malik Neighbors, but Tyrone Tracy, how about the rookie? This is a guy that I did peg early in the season, preseason, to watch out for because I thought there was opportunity. Devin Singletary out for this game, and he balled. 18 carries, 129 yards, 1-yard reception as well. Interestingly, Darius Slayton led the game in receiving. Massive day for him. 11 targets, caught 8 for 122, a touchdown. I thought Wan'Dale Robinson would be the guy, but I mean, he did get 9 targets to Slayton's 11, but Slayton, the more explosive of the two. And then defensively, I mean, there's 3 guys, really. Seahawks safety Rayshon Jenkins, 5 tackles, 3 solos, a 102-yard fumble return for a touchdown. You got Giants wide receiver Bryce Ford-Wheaton, 60-yard blocked field goal return for a touchdown. And then Dexter Lawrence, Sexy Dexy, was pretty sexy all day because he demolished the Seahawks O-line. 4 tackles, 2 solos, 3 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 4 QB hits. Giants plus 7.5 went outright over 41.5. God, good Lord. I mean, dude, this was so bad. On a lot of fronts because it's like Justin Fields didn't play good, which, okay, that's fine. But for one, I thought they ran it way too much early in the game. I understand the field was wet and they didn't really want to throw the ball around. They knew they had to run the ball because Dallas hadn't been good at stopping the run, but they really weren't that good at running the ball with Najee Harris or Justin Fields. So really made it tough to throw the ball offensively. George Pickens was a complete non-factor despite leading the Steelers in targets. And while the Steelers defense did ultimately let up the game-winning touchdown, I put this game on Mike Tomlin. Like, the Steelers defense got 3 turnovers on the night. The offense wasn't able to capitalize on it. And the use of his timeouts late in the game was horrendous. I mean, he used a timeout. I think it was on a punt or something to avoid a delay of game, whether it was on offense or a punt, whatever it was. I was like, dude, don't use a timeout. Don't use a timeout. Like, you need those timeouts because Dallas is still going to get the ball back. And then the last use of his timeout was really bad. I thought, which I know a lot of coaches do this. They, game-ending situations, they look at what the offense is in and, take a timeout to talk about what the offense is going to do potentially out of that formation and whatnot. But with the amount of time left, one timeout would have made a world of difference for Justin Fields on offense because it would have opened up the playbook so much more. You would have been able to throw a ball in the middle of the field, take the timeout, and potentially, if you throw it far enough, get in range for Chris Boswell. Even if you don't throw it far enough, you could still probably throw it far enough to get to around midfield and then throw like a 5 or 6 yard pass out of bounds with 1 or 2 seconds left and still hit Boswell, for a 58, 59 yard field goal, which he's very capable of making. So yeah, I thought the game management at the end was horrendous for Coach Tomlin. And yeah, I mean, I don't know why the Steelers lost this game. It was tough. Once Nick Herbig went out, it was really difficult for Steelers defensively to get pressure on Dak. For one, because he was throwing the ball so fast, and for two, because all they had to do was really focus on TJ Watt because they didn't have a guy opposite to really have to worry about because the replacements for Herbig were just not effective enough. So, yeah. It's a frustrating loss for sure. Especially
play by the Steelers linebacker on that second and goal at the end. Who was that?
Yeah, Landon Roberts, man.
Dude, that was easily the best goal line play I've ever seen by a defensive player.
Well, and
so cool.
And that also is one of the ones that hurts. Like, bro, the Steelers couldn't get that fumble, and that would have been the game. So yeah, I mean, this is rough all around. But Dak, 69%, 352, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, and a fumble. Justin Fields, I know people are talking about it, and I will too. I mean, Russ says he's going to be ready this week. So, I mean, they've lost 2 straight, and Justin Fields did not look good on the national stage. I'm just saying. I think the question has to be asked. I do think it's a good matchup for Pittsburgh. They historically have played very well against Las Vegas, and I just don't think Vegas has the guys to beat the Steelers. But it's going to be a gritty type of game. Also, that was another thing that was like, bro, how did the Steelers lose this game? How are they not able to run the ball or protect Justin Fields? No DeMarcus Lawrence, no Micah Parsons, and then no Marshawn Kneeland that got hurt very early in this game. Linval Joseph wrecked the interior all night, which was a very bad sign because Isaac Seumalo made his season debut in this game. He had been hurt and finally gets back for this one. And, oh, yeah, you got to go up against Linval Joseph that continually just rocks you back all night. So there was no protection for Justin Fields most of the night, which was a very bad sign considering the amount of guys out on the Cowboys front four. Rico Dowdle, that was another thing. Like, the Cowboys were actually able to run the ball in this one because they gave Rico Dowdle the ball and not Zeke. I think that was a big difference. 87 yards on 20 carries, 2 catches for 27 yards, touchdown. Jalen Tolbert, he led the game in receiving, caught the game-winning touchdown, caught 7 of his 10 targets for 87 yards, touchdown. I mentioned Pickens was not good all night. defensively, I'm going to go with Steelers linebacker TJ Watt. I mean, he did his job. He gave his team a chance to win. 8 tackles, 7 solos, 1.5 sacks, 1 tackle for loss, 3 QB hits, forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. Yeah, all right. Not worried about TJ. Cowboys plus 2.5 went outright under 44.5. Roll through news here. College football news. Florida State quarterback DJ Uiagalelei. He had surgery to repair an injury to his throwing hand. Could potentially miss the rest of the season, but we will see. UFL news. The DC Defenders, my DC Defenders, re-signed safety Monte Nicholson. Happy to have the hard hitter back this year. On to NFL news. Trade talks expected to ramp up this week surrounding Raiders wide receiver Devontae Adams, as he should be healthy coming up soon, either this week or next week with his hamstring injury. So I don't know. Who do you think? Who do you think he's going to go to? Jets?
I think Jets is a sexy pick. I think the most logical place would actually be Pittsburgh. After that,
well, Jets and Saints are his top 2 because he wants to play
Jets
with the quarterback.
Saints make a lot of sense, just because Carr and Rodgers. He likes those guys. Pittsburgh makes the most logical sense when you just look at it in a vacuum without considering where Devontae wants to go. I don't know where else.
Yeah.
I think the craziest place that he could realistically go, man, it'd be nuts if he went to like Detroit. I think that'd be the most insane pick if he ended up going there.
Well, we know the team with the most needed receivers is Kansas City Chiefs.
It's true.
But we know that's not going to happen unless the Chiefs would have to give him a first-round pick, essentially.
They'd have to give, if not just 1 first, maybe even start dangling 2, and including not just a first, but also at least a 3rd.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we're in division. I don't want to play Devontae. You're going to have to pay up. Right.
Yeah, we know he's not going to get traded. If he would go to the Steelers, he's not going to get traded this week because they play this week. So not going to happen this week if it is Pittsburgh. But I don't know. I don't know if the Steelers would do that. Historically, they have not liked to trade away picks, especially for older players.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen they've done it for younger players, trading a first rounder for Minka, and trying to think who else they've traded for. They really haven't in a while since Minka Fitzpatrick.
Yeah,
high end picks, please.
Yeah,
but yeah,
they're the kind of team that usually trades players for when they're at their highest value, not trading for players at high value. Like they got a second for Claypool, like that was nuts.
I was very happy. I unfortunately got off the George Pickens train with getting a first round pick for George Pickens. I thought was fantastic for me in Dynasty. Thought that was great value. So
yeah, so I would say those are my 4 teams. The 2 teams he wants, Jets and Saints. I would kind of base whether he goes to the Saints or Jets on how the Saints play tonight. Because if they fall and lose, and would that put them at 2-3?
Yeah.
I mean, they'd come off that hot start, and then, going 2-3, I'd be like, oh, man, I thought this team was a sleeper playoff team. Now it feels like they're just coming back down to earth.
Well, I wouldn't put it out even if they do lose they would still only be 1 game back in the division. Falcons and Bucks are both 3-2. So I still think they could see it as like this would get us over the top in the division at the very worst. Obviously, that's what you try to win first. So, but yeah, Chiefs are looking into wide receiver trades now with the Rashee Rice injury finalized, which we'll talk about during the injury news here. But yeah, there's some interesting ones out there for sure. Amari Cooper is one guy that I've heard a lot about potentially getting moved. There is obviously Cortland Sutton's seemingly been in the trade rumors for the last 2 years. I just don't think Denver's going to move him with how well the connection's going with him and Bo Nix.
Yeah, I think we've seen the last 2 weeks. He's become Bo's favorite target, so you can't get rid of him during a rookie's year.
Yeah. And I really don't know what else receivers are out there that the Chiefs would be looking at. There's a couple other names, but I just can't remember them right now. Anyway.
I'm trying to think of any. I'm trying to think of any on a bad team on a mid contract.
Yeah. I mean,
anyone on the Jaguars?
Yeah. Oh no, that was one. Kirk.
Kirk,
Yeah,
is he
Kirk.
only 1 year left on his deal?
I don't remember it. I don't know his contract.
Let me look up Christian.
I know
Kirk.
he was. That was another one though that I heard about for Kansas City potentially going after.
Yeah, that would be a big one because he's under contract through next year, and his cap hit is pretty large. His cap hit this year is $24 million. Next year, $27 million. So that'd be a big ask for them. What's Gabe Davis's contract look like? I want to see his.
The Browns already talked about it, but Kevin Stefanski did say they are sticking with Deshaun Watson. So that's cool.
Dude, you don't want the coolest guy on the planet being your quarterback.
Hey, I'm here with it. If he wants to do it for another week, come to Philadelphia, Deshaun. Love to see it. I
mean, it can't get much worse, right, Stefanski? Come on, put in famous Jameis. Come on, you'd be eating W's.
And the Patriots have a couple nuggets here. Safety Jabril Peppers arrested Saturday morning. The only reason, usually we don't put these arrests in the news, but I just put it in here because the charges are pretty wild.
It's absurd.
He was charged with assault and battery with a dangerous weapon, strangulation, and possession of a Class B substance.
Which in this case, I believe, was cocaine.
Okay, cool. I was gonna say I didn't look up into what it was, but I mean, cool. So yeah, that's a nice list there. For real.
God forbid guys have hobbies, right?
I just thought the strangulation was crazy. I was like, I never heard that as a charge.
This guy literally went nuts. Like, and wasn't like against his girlfriend or like a significant other?
Yeah, I think so.
I can't. That's just nuts to think about.
And the Patriots also potentially we could see Drake May this week. That is an option that it seems like Coach Mayo is thinking about. 4 straight losses, it makes sense. However, Coach Mayo, I would not do it this week. Not going up against the Texans.
No, I think. Let me look up the Patriots schedule. You gotta wait. You can't do Texans. Definitely can't do Jets. I would do Jaguars. I would do next week.
Yeah. But even them, though, we saw Trayvon Walker had 3 sacks this week. I mean, him and Josh Hines-Allen could. That's a tough duo to go against.
That'd be tough.
I know the rest of the defense isn't great, but those two alone, and the offensive line situation that the Patriots are in is not good. So
you could wait till November 3rd. You got the Titans on.
There you go. That's the one.
That's the one. Let Jacoby Brissett get beat up for another 3 more weeks.
IR, just one guy mentioned here. Cowboys placed wide receiver Brandon Cooks on IR, dealing with a knee infection there. Injuries, 49ers running back Christian McCaffrey not going to return this week, at least for Thursday Night Football, still dealing with his Achilles. But I think there is potential that could be week 7. Rams wide receiver Cooper Kupp, high ankle sprain. He is expected to return October 20th, week 7, after their bye week when they play the Raiders. Colts, bad news. Offensive tackle Will Fries, he fractured his lower leg. Dolphins safety Javon Holland has a broken hand. 49ers kicker Jake Moody, he has a high ankle sprain, out multiple weeks there. Texans wide receiver Nico Collins, this changed today. They initially diagnosed it as day-to-day, but Coach D'Amico Ryan's saying now it is week-to-week for Nico Collins, so not good there with his hamstring injury. Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers, he has a sprained ankle, but should be good to go for Monday Night Football. The Bengals, bad news. It's getting even worse since Cincinnati. Corner Dax Hill tore his ACL out for the year on a defense that hasn't been playing great. Just lost their number 2 corner there.
Yeah, it's good.
Titans quarterback Will Levis dealing with his AC joint, says he should be good to go this week after the bye week last week. Cardinals, big loss. Guard Will Hernandez. He is out for the season, knee injury for him. Cowboys rookie edge rusher Marshawn Nealon last night. Good news. Good news for them. Not a torn ACL, which is what I thought originally when I saw him, the play that he got injured on. I would not have been shocked had it been an ACL. But good news, though, it is a lateral partially torn meniscus. So he's going to get it trimmed, and he's going to miss weeks. Not season ending for Nealon. So good news there. And how about, I mean, can the Panthers catch a break? Like, nope. Good Lord, man. Starting center Austin Corbett, he is done for the season. Torn biceps. Like, God dang, man, they just cannot get any help. The Jags, good news for them. Tight end Evan Ingram with a hamstring injury out since week 1, likely to return this week. And some news for the Eagles here. They have opened the practice windows for safety Sidney Brown and wide receiver Anaya Smith. So potential help coming on the back end and at receiver for Philly. And I know you had texted me this. Rashee Rice, we have some clarity on his situation. Torn LCL. So
that's what it looks like. I'm getting like really complicated back and forth. Like I sent you that, and I saw another one by I forget his name, like Ari Meroff. He said like he's going under the knife so they can find what his injury is.
Yeah.
But they say they're optimistic. So basically what it's described as is they don't know the injuries. MRIs can't pick it up, but the swelling isn't going down. So they are cutting into his leg to see what's wrong.
Right. So they know it's an LCL, right? They know that has to get repaired. Mm-hmm. What they don't know is if the ACL is also torn, which is what they need to find out with what you're talking about. So it's at least an LCL tear, potentially an ACL, but they don't think that it's an ACL from what I've read, which is good news. LCL repairs alone are only months and a lot shorter than the 8 to 9 months, potentially 10 months that you need for an ACL. So more than likely not back this season. But if it's just an LCL, Chiefs make the Super Bowl for a 4th straight time, potentially.
He could be a playoff guy.
Yeah. All right. College football, just to mention these games, because we are going on this incredible streak that started off on Thursday night. What is it? I think it was 55 straight days. We got games. We have games. We have football for 55 straight days. What can get better than 55 straight days of football?
56.
Tomorrow night, we have Tuesday night Conference USA football. FIU 2-3 at Liberty. The Flames are 4-0. Jamie Chadwell's squad. They are getting 17.5 as a favorite at home in Virginia there. 54.5 is the total. I like Liberty on the spread. I'm leaning on the over as well. 7 p.m. CBS Sportsnet. Wednesday, we have Wednesday night football. It is also Conference USA ball. We don't have Maction yet. Maction comes a little bit later in the month. New Mexico State 1-4 at Jacksonville State 2-3. The Gamecocks getting 20.5 at home. That is another one. I know it's another big spread, but I like the Gamecocks at home on the spread. New Mexico State has been crap. Sorry, John, but New Mexico State's not good this year. 57.5 is the total. I would not be surprised if that thing goes over. 7:30 on ESPN2 on Wednesday. And then Thursday night, we have a triple header of college football plus the Thursday night football game in NFL. Coastal Carolina 4-1 at JMU 4-1. It's a marquee matchup, I really think. 9.5 points for JMU. I like Coastal plus 9.5 in that one. Total is 62.5. Give me the over. I think it's a big high scoring game there between Ethan Vasco and Alonzo Barnett, the quarterbacks. 7:30 on ESPN2. Yeah, Mid Tennessee 1-4 at Louisiana Tech 1-3. The Bulldogs getting 5.5 at home. I would say Louisiana Tech wins that one. I'm not so sure on the spread. That's two, 1-win teams there. It's a tough game. 49.5 is the total there. I lean on the under. 8 p.m. CBS Sportsnet. And then final one, UTEP. The Miners looking for their first win this year. They are 0-5 at Western Kentucky. Hilltoppers are 3-2. They're getting 19.5 at home. I like them on the spread. 58.5 is the total. I like the under in that one. 8 p.m. ESPN U. All right. Back to your regularly scheduled programming here. I know we're going way too long. Sorry. But Logan, look at that, man. He's only lost twice on this show. 9-2. You're right on him, though. You're right on him, Jimmy.
But is this a Linsanity run? A Logue Sanity run, if you will?
Yeah, so you're 8-3. You're one game back. John and I are floundering. We don't know what we're doing back here. 5-6 for both of us. I am on top because I went 2-1 because he picked the Seahawks, Lone Wolf, last Monday night. And on Thursday, so the records from last week, we all got Titans right on Monday. And then John lost on his Lone Wolf on the Seahawks against the Lions. You and Logan got the Falcons right on Thursday against the Bucks. So tonight, in about an hour or whatever, I don't remember when it starts. Saints at the Chiefs, 5.5 for Kansas City at home. I'm not taking that spread. I think this is a trap game for the Chiefs, to be honest. I do think they're going to win, but I think it's going to be a close game. I lean on the Saints plus 5.5 just because I don't know. The Chiefs didn't look great against the Chargers. Only a 7-point win there. But I do think what's going to continue to haunt the Saints is Eric McCoy being out. Chris Jones, I think, is going to have a field day because I think Eric McCoy and Cesar Ruiz both still out on that O-line. So that's prime Chris Jones territory inside there. So I think Chris Jones is going to wreak havoc all night. And I think Alvin Kamara is not going to have a great night rushing. So I think it's going to be a lot on Derek Carr's shoulders. But I do think they're going to have opportunities in the passing game. I still think Chiefs win, like I said, but I think it's going to be close. Anything else on this game?
No, I mean, I think, like I said earlier, I think this is going to be the kind of game that kind of almost determines how the Saints are going to approach the rest of the season because, you had your hot start coming off back-to-back pretty devastating losses, I would say. Mm-hmm. But, if you can recover and beat a team like the Chiefs, go 3-2, you might open some eyes and maybe get back to the playoffs. But, I mean, you lose 3 in a row after winning your first 2 pretty convincingly. Rough. I mean, it's pretty rough.
You just want the Chiefs to lose to the Vikings. They're the only undefeated team.
Shut up. I don't like the Saints either. Listen, it's a win-win, lose-lose for me. So no matter what happens, I get to cheer. I get to see my vitriol hatred of the Saints rewarded. But if the Chiefs lose, I get to be the last undefeated team. So it's a win-win, lose-lose.
Total is 43.5. I like the under. These are
I think the Saints offense kind of has stagnated the last couple of weeks, and the Chiefs offense just hasn't really got off the ground yet. And with losing Rashee Rice as well, that's a huge weapon to lose. This will probably be under.
Yeah, I'm very confident in the Chiefs defense. Not as confident in the Saints, but they still have a good squad over there. 8:15 p.m. That's when it does start. So yeah, there you go. On ESPN.
45 minutes.
Thursday night. So there we go.
John, what the hell?
We've learned. Well, John learned his lesson. John learned his lesson by not lone wolfing his Seahawks on the Monday show. Logan, however, has not learned that lesson of lone wolfing the Seahawks on the Monday show.
Wait, why does John pick the Buccaneers?
Oh, my bad. I forgot to put
I was like, whoa, this is a three-way football game, ladies and gentlemen.
He's picking the 49ers. My bad.
All right. Another red logo team.
Yeah. So he's going against his Seahawks. He's doing the old reverse jinx, I guess.
Dude, that's how I got through the 49ers and Texans. I just reverse jinxed my boys.
So, yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a close game. And I was hesitant to pick the 49ers because of what they've done the last 2 weeks, or two out of the last three. The Patriots games in between there. But what the Seahawks showed me yesterday did not give me any confidence on picking them, especially on a short week.
Yeah, both these teams are going to come in really pissed.
Well, I just think the Niners are the better team, and especially on defense.
Yeah.
So, and I still don't trust the Seahawks offensive line. They've had injuries at tackle, and they've been rotating at guard. So I think Nick Bosa is going to have a good day. Good night. 47.5 is the total. I lean on the over. I could see this one getting some points.
Yeah. This could be fun. Although 49ers and Seahawks, especially in Seattle, they do have a tendency to be kind of not low scoring, but like mid-20s, both sides, down to the wire. Yeah.
That works.
I mean,
yeah.
Who knows?
Get 27 to 21, we win. 8:15 p.m. Prime Video on Thursday. And apologies for way too long. I talked a lot in the beginning.
You are a yapper, my friend.
I know. When it gets to football, I can go.
No,
Week 7 next Monday. Get your game recaps in. Get Monday night, Thursday night previews. We got Monday night AFC East matchup, Bills at the Jets. Big one for New York, I think, a lot more than Buffalo. And then on Thursday, Broncos at the Saints. You already know who I'm picking in that game.
That's right.
Sean Payton revenge game, baby. Let's get it. But yeah, don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast on Instagram and X. FAApodcast.com is the website. You check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. We will see y'all back on Football Friday. Enjoy Monday night.